Welcome back to the 30-Minute Drill. I'm Francesco Terranova alongside Alec Oppenheim and special guest Joey Cunningham. In today's episode, we will have a special one-on-one interview with Mr. Shale, see some of the students' opinions on this weekend's Super Bowl, take a look at the college basketball polls up to date, and later give a mid-season hockey analysis with our surprise teams and some disappointments. So to start off, we'll talk about this upcoming Super Bowl. Super Bowl 51 in Houston. We've got the Patriots and the Falcons. Two of the best teams in football, easily, I think. It's not really much of a question, especially on the AFC side. But I think the biggest thing is, will Brady surpass Joe Montana and get that fifth ring? Will we see Goodell stand on that stage with Tom Brady? Those are some of the big questions that we're seeing hovering around the Super Bowl. Alec, what are your predictions?
I mean, before I give my prediction, even if Tom Brady wins and surpasses Joe Montana on the Super Bowl stage, I mean, he's never really going to surpass him skill-wise. In my opinion, Joe Montana is and always will be the best quarterback of all time. Now, to get to the game, I think that it'll be a very tough game. I think the Patriots will not win this game. I think the Falcons will win and get their first Super Bowl ever. And in a very close game, I think there will be a blowout, over 7 points. I think Taylor Gabriel and Julio Jones will play a major role in this game. And I think Matt Ryan, MVP candidate, will throw for over 300 yards and 3+ touchdowns.
Yeah, and with the improved defense of the Patriots, I think a blowout would be considered a touchdown or more. A lot of people are expecting a close game if the Falcons don't do what they did to the Packers. I don't think anyone was expecting that. And then the Falcons just came out and just absolutely dominated. And I think if the Falcons can do that against the Patriots, they find a way to do that against Belichick, which I don't really see happening with the way Belichick really coaches. I think that's the only way to agree with you. So moving on, Cunningham, what are your predictions?
I'm going to take the Falcons 30-27. I think Gostkowski maybe misses a late field goal late in the game, but I think the Falcons running back duo of Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman, being able to literally play anywhere on the field, they can go out wide and they can always come in the slot. And their three receivers in Gabriel, Mohamed Sanu, and Julio Jones, I think it's just too much for the Patriots defense to handle.
Yeah, Matty Ice, possible MVP candidate. Well, definitely MVP candidate, possible actually MVP winner. Has all the weapons he needs, I think, to succeed and beat the Patriots. But my argument, you guys both have the Falcons winning. My argument to you guys is the Brady-Belichick dynasty. We've seen Brady in one of his best seasons throughout his entire career, throwing only 2 interceptions, obviously, besides when he did throw 2 interceptions this postseason, has really had one of the best regular seasons we've seen, especially missing 4 games. I don't see the Patriots really letting the Falcons take advantage of their not-so-great defense, but it's still definitely a great team for the Falcons to face the Patriots. But I think the Patriots will eventually come out on top. But I agree with you. The only way I see them losing is Gostkowski because of how ineffective he's been throughout the entire season as a fantasy owner of him. Very disappointed in seeing a lot of missed field goals and extra points. Definitely not happy about it.
I don't really know if he's really been ineffective. He just hasn't been as good, like what we're used to, really. He's playing like a normal kicker now. He's not like he's finally come back down to earth. And what you're saying before with Tom Brady and the interceptions, I mean, sure, 2 is great, but he also missed a quarter of the season. I mean, it's a lot easier to throw less interceptions when you miss that many games.
Well, if we could see the graphic, we all, I think, could agree on one thing. This Super Bowl is going to be one for the ages with 2 great quarterbacks and then the high-powered offense that we've seen from the Falcons this year. Definitely one of the best, possibly not of all time, but definitely in the running for top 5, top 10 offenses. And then the legacy that Brady will be setting in if he does come out with the win. When we return, we will take a look at the current college polls and look at which teams are getting hot at the right time for March Madness.
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Positano Pizza, the finest Italian cuisine and pizzeria. Show us your Wayne Hill student ID to get 2 slices of pizza or a bowl of pasta plus a drink for only $5.
Welcome back to the 30-Minute Drill. I'm Frankie Terranova alongside Mr. Shale here in the library at Wayne Hills. We have the Super Bowl coming up February 5th with the Patriots and the Falcons. I'd like to get your thoughts, being the sports guy that you are. Who do you think will win this game?
I tell you, first and foremost, as a Giant fan, I don't really have a dog in the fight. I really just hope it's a good game. And I don't think I would have said this a month ago, but I'm finding it hard. It's always hard to get a bet against Belichick and Brady, but I tell you, the Falcons are really playing great. That offense is firing on all cylinders. I think it's a tough one, but I think it might be the Falcons.
Yeah, and the Falcons have an X factor that's really stepped up this year. Matt Ryan, possibly an MVP candidate. do you think on the Super Bowl that there's a player on that field who wins the MVP?
I think that's a great question. I think it certainly could be Ryan. With Tom Brady, the question is, can you give an MVP to a guy who missed a quarter of the season with that suspension, with those 4 games? His statistics, even without those 4 games, are pretty incredible. But I really do think it will go to Ryan. I think Ryan is deserving. It's kind of unique that the MVP awards are voted on before the playoffs begin. So his outstanding playoff run, can't be used to boost either one of their cases, either Brady or Ryan. But I think if you look just on the regular season, I think Ryan's got a pretty darn good case to be the MVP. Yes.
Yeah, and although this year Tom Brady did miss the first 4 games, does have the amazing stats, and the conversation always comes up when we talk about Tom Brady. Is he the greatest quarterback of all time?
It's a tough question for me to answer because I just loathe Tom Brady so much. But if I look at it objectively, and also my age, I grew up during the era of, when I was young, Joe Montana as well, who's certainly in the conversation, the Troy Aikmans. If they win this year, objectively, he's obviously in the conversation already. I think he may very well go down. Not only the statistics are a little bit skewed because it's so much of a more throw-heavy offense these days. Just the sheer number of attempts and things along those lines. But the winning itself, I hate to say it, but I think you can make a very good case for him being the best of all time. As much as I don't like the Patriots, it would be a hell of a legacy, a dynasty, and I think he might just be that guy.
Well, you've heard it here on the 30-minute drill from Mr. Shale. Falcons winning the Super Bowl, Matt Ryan coming home with an MVP, and Tom Brady, a very good shot at becoming one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time after February 5th. That's all from this segment. I'm Frankie Terranova, and we'll be back in the studio with Marosh and Alec.
For more information on advertising on Wayne Hills TV, contact Mr. Hookstraight at jhookstraight@wayneschools.com.
Welcome back to the drill. Now we take an inside look at the current polls in the NCAA. So we'll start off with looking at the NCAA graphic we made. We have Gonzaga at the top, followed by Baylor, which I've heard some things said by Joey Cunningham as to why they should not be the 2 seed. And then followed by Villanova, Kansas, and Arizona. A lot of great teams that we're seeing up there. Joey, you're passionate about this, so we'll start off with you. What are your thoughts on the poll so far?
I like Gonzaga at number 1. I feel like they're a tier ahead of every other team. I feel like they're on another level with the addition of William Nigel Goss from Washington and Jordan Matthews from California. But they're just a very deeper team. They got a lot of talent, and they're a team that's bound to make a run in the NCAA tournament. Also, with Arizona, you got another good team. They played early in the season, Gonzaga and Arizona, but you saw the Zags ended up with that win. But I think that's a potential Final Four matchup, even national championship level kind of matchup. And I like the Zags making a deep run in the tournament.
Yeah, West Virginia wasn't mentioned, but they probably made one of the biggest jumps. They were at 18, and now they're sitting at the 8th seed. But that's what happens, like we talked about, when you beat Kansas. But one of their players did have a fluke game, scoring more points than he had in his whole career prior. So definitely some great things coming out of West Virginia. Possibly a fluke, like we talked about. But one of the biggest fall-offs was probably Duke with Grayson Allen and what they've failed to do throughout this year. Alec, what are your thoughts on Duke?
On Duke, well, they're definitely not what they used to be. They used to win every game. I mean, I don't really see them going that far into the tournament this year. I mean, I see them losing in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe even the 1st round. But with what Joey was saying, I completely agree with Gonzaga going very far into it. I see them potentially making it to the Final Four, even the championship game.
Yeah, I think Duke could possibly come together like we saw UConn do that. Definitely not a great team, and we saw them come back and win it. Joey, what are your thoughts? Anything else you'd like to add?
Look, you see Duke, they're just a freshman-oriented team, and normally with these freshman teams, they got to click together. They're young talent. They see the stars. They're a freshman team. When they lose, it kind of falls down pretty quicker than it rebuilds when they win. But I don't know. I think Duke, with Coach K not being there right now, when he comes back, I think they're going to be in Final Four for him.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And a possible underdog that we could see come into the Elite Eight, possibly Final Four, I think, is UCLA. I'd be putting them in my March Madness bracket, going to at least the Elite Eight. I feel they go very far. When we return, we'll be doing our midseason hockey analysis. Stay tuned.
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Positano Pizza, the finest Italian cuisine and pizzeria. Show us your Wayne Hill student ID to get 2 slices of pizza or a bowl of pasta plus a drink for only $5.
So far, there have been some real surprise teams and some underwhelming teams in the NHL. Let's take a look. So to start off, let's talk about the Eastern Conference. In the Eastern Conference, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who had the first pick last year and have jumped all the way to just one spot outside of a playoff spot. Alec, what are your thoughts?
On Toronto, I mean, I really wouldn't call them a surprise. I kind of expected this from them. I mean, after they got the number 1 pick in Austin Matthews, I mean, he was expected to be amazing. Like Jack Eichel good, not quite Connor McDavid good, but in that same league. And also they got one of, if not the best coaches in the league in Mike Babcock. And all around, I think they're a very good team. And this really isn't a big surprise to me.
The other team that is a surprise, I feel, in the Eastern Conference is the Columbus Blue Jackets, only behind Washington in the seedings for the Eastern Conference. Cunningham, what are your thoughts on the Blue Jackets?
Blue Jackets just been pretty awesome this year. I mean, look, they had that big win streak, and then they kind of lost it to the Capitals, but they've been able to get on to another streak again. I mean, look, if they can get into the playoffs all healthy, I really can see them going to the finals.
Yeah, only 1 win out of the first seed for the Blue Jackets. Moving on to the Western Conference, we have a lot of teams here that are definitely very strong, with the Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks being in the Stanley Cup last year. But the big surprise, I think, is the Edmonton Oilers. Alec, your thoughts on the Oilers?
I'm going to have to say again, I don't think they're a surprise. I mean, how many years in the past 6 or 7 years have they gotten the first overall pick? I mean, Taylor Hall, Connor McDavid. I mean, at this point, really can't be, they had to be good eventually. I mean, it finally happened. I mean, they're a good team this year. They can see them going far into the playoffs this year.
Well, yeah, a lot of first-round picks actually will, like you said, add up, and we're seeing that here in the NHL. Moving on to some disappointments, the Tampa Bay Lightning, definitely a big disappointment, below 500 right now. Joey, what are your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yeah, the Lightning getting Steven Stamkos back this year after he was being a free agency. I mean, you really thought that they were going to be able to be a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference, and they really just haven't been. They really haven't came to that point yet. But if they could turn around, I mean, look, they're just not really scoring goals. They're kind of giving up too many on defense. If they can turn around right now, I think they might be able to get a shot into the playoffs, but it's going to be tough.
Another major disappointment here, the Los Angeles Kings had a very good couple years from 2012, 2013, 2014, but have kind of fallen off here. They are in a playoff spot right now in the 7th seed, but definitely a lot of things could go wrong for them. Alec, any thoughts on the Los Angeles Kings?
I mean, the Kings, they're, like you said, they've had some great history the past couple of years. I mean, they won a Stanley Cup a few years ago. They have a rich history, but this year, holding on to the 7th spot, they really have to work hard to hang on to that playoff spot. And I'm not really sure if they're the type of team that can come in clutch and hang on until the end.
Yeah, definitely. So that's all from our midseason analysis segment. When we come back, we will be discussing the tragic deaths of MLB stars Andy Marte and Yordana Ventura.
For more information on advertising on Wayne Hills TV, contact Mr. Hookstraight at jhookstraight@wayneschools.com.
Welcome back to our last segment on The Drill. We're going to be talking about the deaths of Andy Marte and Yordana Ventura. Definitely some great players coming out of the league. Yordana Ventura being a World Series champion in 2015 with the Kansas City Royals, playing his entire career, his short 3-4-year career with the Royals. Joey, what are your thoughts on the deaths of Yordana Ventura?
Look, Yordana Ventura was a huge part of the Royals championship team. He has a fastball that tops off at 100 miles an hour. I mean, look, he was, 22, 23? I mean, look, that's something that the Royals really couldn't get back. They had him up for contract for a long time. It's just a real shame to see what happened.
Yeah, died at 25, had a record of 38-31, a career ERA of 3.89, and had 470 strikeouts. Yeah, like you talked about, was known for that explosive fastball coming out of his hand, being able to go deep in games with it. Moving on to the other death around the league, Andy Marte. Alec, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it is just so tragic to lose a player like this. I mean, he wasn't as popular or maybe even as good as Ventura, but he was definitely a beloved player around the league. I mean, third baseman, played all around the league. I mean, his career wasn't as influential, that's the word I was thinking of, as Ventura, but it's definitely a tragic loss. And I actually have an interesting fact. The last pitcher that Marte faced was Ventura.
Yeah, ended his career against Ventura. He played with 3 different teams, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, and the Indians throughout his rather short 4 or 5-year career for Andy Marte. A lot of deaths around the MLB. We saw this last year towards the end of the season, Jose Fernandez in that tragic boating accident. So a lot of bad things going on around the MLB with our young stars. Definitely, I think the MLB will start to do things that will keep them healthy and definitely out of situations like that. That's all for this episode of The Drill. I'm Francesco Terranova alongside Alec Oppenheim and Joey Cunningham. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed. Come back in 2 weeks for the next installment of The Drill.